There we go. All right. Please start. Welcome, SHE-ness Tribe. I'm so excited to be with you. It has been a hot minute. We used to do every single Wednesday for a year and a half, and then we went on to create a phenomenal course called Becoming an Energy Magnet, which you can explore on my website, SHE-ness.com. We also have an on-demand version. We're about to go big everywhere. We hired a marketing team because we've gotten so many phenomenal results. And part of that is my pursuit of the best version of myself. And today I brought you my personal coach to talk about stop pursuing happiness. It's time to be happy. So start being happy, end the pursuit and start being happy. So I'm Roya Mattis, the CEO of SHE-ness Tribe, and I'm honored to bring my coach today. Let me tell you a little bit about his background. Can you imagine? You can meet people in the most phenomenal ways. So the first thing I want to mention to you all is if you want to elevate, when you want that to come into your life, set the intention out with the knowing that it's going to happen and the feeling as if it already did, and people just manifest into your life. And that's really what happened with Juan. Juan is a professional human being. I love that. Juan Ascencio, you know, Juan, I've never been saying your last name. So Ascencio?
Ascencio.
Oh, Juan Ascencio is a professional human being based in Palm Springs, California, with years of experience in thespian arts, sales, martial, holistic healing arts, bartending, mixology, and recently entrepreneurship. After many years of personal development and exploration in inner sciences, Juan created the life energy optimization method called the Leo method, which I have really benefited from, where he serves as a lead instructor in inner energy coaching. You know, we're all about energy here in the SHE-ness Tribe. Juan created the Leo method as a technology to help individuals dissolve disempowering beliefs while upgrading their own human operating system as quickly and effectively as possible. Tribe, you know, we talk about these things over and over again. And so I just want to reiterate that we have about access between 5 and 10%. Actually, they say 95% or less, 97% or excuse me, let me back up. 3% to 5% is accessible in your conscious mind, and 95% on average is subconscious. You don't think how you breathe, you blink, your heart beats, and then your body keeps score. So if you're pursuing something and you just can't quite access it, you've done all the tasks and things, and it's not coming to you, or you're not following through, there's a subconscious block. And these are the kind of methods, like the Leo method he developed, that allows you to access the subconscious, your blind spots, through having I really believe you've got to have a coach for this, because a blind spot is a blind spot. And without a coach, you're really spinning because you're only getting that 5% conscious. So he creates this Leo method, you guys, this operating system that allows you to get into that subconscious and rewire it. Quote, I see that we're now living in a new golden age of magic and technology, where our own creation could end up enslaving and even making human beings obsolete. Individuals no longer need to be careful with the tools and technology that we have created. We have to become joyfully competent in handling the power of our creation to create the world we truly want to live in. Without further ado, I'll officially turn it over for a hello. Juan, thanks for being in the SHE-ness Tribe today.
I'm very happy to be here. Very excited. So thank you. Thank you for having me.
Being on live, you guys, while we're talking, for those of you that are joining us live, you can ask questions along the way. That's the benefit. And of course, the recording will live here. And I'll also put the recording on our YouTube channel and tag Juan so that he can watch his magic and share his magic as well. I know we haven't been used to coming on live, so potentially many of you will be watching the playback. So Juan, when you think about the subject today and the pursuit and begin being happy, let's start with, what does that mean to you?
Ending the pursuit. You know, we all hear or heard, you know, our pursuit of happiness. We all have the right to pursue our own happiness. And I had somebody once told me that when that idea came in, which has to do a lot with, the beginning of the creation of the United States of America, the meaning of that was really about not necessarily pursuing your happiness outside of yourself, but more like your connection, making a direct connection with the creator within
Mm,
yourself.
mm,
That everybody has the right to do that. And so as time goes on, and I learned that I got a chance, like you said, where you just put that intention, you desire to upgrade yourself, you want to learn more, you want to enjoy your life. And when you're ready, like that old Zen saying, when the student is ready, the master, the teacher will appear.
yeah.
And as if by magic, those things did occur to me. I felt fortunate that I was able to meet all kinds of different people who taught me a lot about the inner mechanics of how to work this. And God, I can really go deep into this, but just one pointer to happiness, in my experience, was the acknowledgement that if you're in pursuit of your happiness, that means you're not happy.
Mm, mhm.
So if you start to just pay attention to being happy, what does that mean to you personally as an individual? Not
Yeah,
not what society has told you or your parents or anybody else, but to you.
yeah,
And it has many layers.
yeah.
And once you get to that core, then you'll start to see that happiness is not something that you can achieve. Well, that's an illusion. But
Mm.
your happiness can actually be an expression of who you are. And then that's where
Well,
creative ideas and solutions and all kinds of things come into play.
well,
And
experiencing, so let me just say that again to
sure.
understand. You said happiness, having, how did you say it, is an illusion, but you can have the expression of happiness. So can you repeat that part?
Yeah, the pursuit of it,
The
achieving it, something
achieving that
exogenically.
that space of happiness is an illusion, but you can decide to express happiness no matter what. Like I can be happy right now in
Hmm.
this moment, no matter
Hmm.
what the moment is. I can
Hmm.
choose to be happy.
Hmm. Something that I discovered from my own experience is like you have to the foundation of happiness is peace.
Yes.
And if you don't have peace inside your heart, you're not going to be able to enjoy anything in life, not even a meal,
Mm,
nothing without it. So out of peace, the next step to that is like that awareness, and then you feel joy, and then from joy, happiness. But the foundation of all this is peace. You need that peace in your heart. And
yeah.
it's really interesting when you see like people going out in the world and say, oh, I want the world to become a better place. I want the world to change and become better. But a lot of these people, they're saying all these things, but you can feel it if you're paying attention that there's no peace in their heart. And that's a futile thing, because if you really want the world to change, then you have to change. You gotta have that peace within yourself in order for it to manifest out in reality. So if you're
Okay.
happy now, your expression will attract and create happiness, but from a very from an experiential place, which is always now in the present moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you don't have peace,
Hmm.
what's the first steps?
The first steps are, well, what is it that's causing the unrest, right? The lack of peace inside. Usually it's
So
mostly
one is
uh-huh,
identifying what's causing the lack of peace.
right.
What's number two?
uh well, you can, usually there tends to be disempowering beliefs or emotional conditioning, and usually those traumas or those things almost all the time come from your childhood. And so you want to investigate that. What is it? What are those traumatic events or those beliefs that are created that gave meaning to my life, because of whatever it is that we experienced that allowed us to make sense of the world at the time,
Mm,
to deal with it. But you'll come to terms as you get older, you become more conscientious, and but at the same time, those programs, those beliefs get stuck in the unconscious aspect of our minds, because in the human operating system, in the humans, you got consciousness, you have the subconscious, which is directly connected to your emotions, and then the unconscious aspect, which is darkest, the dark part of a human operating system. That's where all the mechanics, all your beliefs are actually right there. And so to go into that and to change those things up, that's, you do need a guide, because you're not well versed in it. But once you get the hang of things, you can do it on your own. But in the beginning, you do need a guide. It's like a GPS. You if you do not know where you're going, you need a guide or a GPS, something to guide you.
Yeah.
And to recognize those things. And we worked a lot on the Leo method and discovered a lot of things, right? And it's always extraordinary to me, because every individual human being is extraordinarily different. We're the same at the same time, but vastly different.
Yeah.
And but in the whole process of what I've been able to do, where I come from, what I've been able to do, the thing that has allowed me to get faster, quicker, sharper result has been an expression of happiness, which is being playful. Don't take it so seriously. And I mean this wholeheartedly. I don't give a shit how devastating the situation is. If you're more playful about it, I'm not saying be playful like a clown, but but energetically, like, try not to take it so seriously, because the aspects of life and death, the more serious you are, the more inclined you are closer to inertia, to death. And the more playful, the more creative and lively you are. And when you express your playfulness, you're expressing happiness and becomes creative. And then your ability to come up with solutions and your body cooperates as well to have the energy to do whatever it is that you need to do and learn.
So, okay. So 2 things.
Mhm.
One, what does when you said not playful like a clown, can you give us a couple of examples of being playful for those that are pretty mechanical or methodical or type A, and they're like, I don't know what he means being playful and not being clownish. Can you give a couple of examples of that? And then I have a comment on what you said about going in.
Yeah. An example of okay. I'll give you a stupid example. You're driving on the freeway, and for a lot of women, this tends to be a very stressful situation. There's a lot of reasons for it. But then all of a sudden you do a wrong turn or whatever, and then somebody looks at you and flips you off. So you can personalize it and be like, well, then fuck you too. Like, flip them back off too. And then you get into this mode, and then boom, you end up in an accident and ends up going to, or same scenario, the guy flips you up and you'd be like, oh, he just flipped me off. He's pissed off. But I can laugh at the situation and be like, okay, I need to correct myself, because I'm probably not doing something right. And I can be more playful about it. Just a stupid example about it. You creating a little space between your mental emotional connection, because there's your thought process, your emotional process, and then there's you. And if you can create just a little bit of space, a little breath, there's my emotions, I feel stupid or whatever, I can laugh at myself. I fucked up or whatever, but I can correct myself. That's my capability of being conscientiously intelligent in a humble way, but in a real way.
I like that. I hadn't been flipped off in a long time, and I was flipped off last week. And and I actually was like, I have no idea why this person was so angry with me. I didn't know. And so when you said, of course, correct. But when she flipped me off, I was like, oh my gosh, look at that. That is so fantastic.
Yeah, you're amazed.
Look how strong she is in that car so far away, flipping me off right before she's gonna exit in her escape. And then I played this dumb game with myself. I was like, flip and a flip and a flip and a run. I don't know, it's so stupid.
Yeah.
But before, when people would do something like that, I'd be like, oh my God, and now it's like, oh my God, that's hilarious. It's so tough.
When I was growing up, I used to personalize things a lot too. And that's why I do what I do now, is because my first half of my life I was a complete miserable asshole. And I got to a point in which I'm tired of being a miserable asshole. I want to be a happy asshole. I want to be not an asshole, but I want to be more conscientious, just enjoy my life, because I don't know. There's no guarantee I'm going to wake up tomorrow. So,
Yeah.
but chances are I am. So I do have some time to make some changes and to enjoy this life for however long I is. It's about quality of life and being playful and more joyful. I mean, it's actually medically and scientifically proven that the more um happier you are, more peaceful you are, joyful you are, uh your body, your immune system functions stronger. Your mental emotional capabilities energy rises, you work harder, and it doesn't even feel like work. You're just playing. And then your ability to come up with creative solutions, it just comes more fluidly.
Yeah.
So it only makes sense to be more playful on even on an intellectual and intelligent way.
Can you take us back to, oh, I don't want to forget the comment I was going to make.
Sure.
What's fascinating when you were working with me is consciously you would ask me, do you believe such and such? And I'd be like, no. And you're like, well, just for giggles, let's just go ahead, or just for the test, the double check of it, just say that to yourself and feel in your body if there's any reaction. And I remember so many times just being surprised, like, what the heck? I actually believe that. So something that we feel like is such a disconnect of our own truth, our body can resonate in a very different way. So when we find ourselves reacting to things that consciously we're like, this is not a big deal, but our body responds, our body internalizes that, and it takes our peace or our joy at that moment. Yeah. So can you take me back to the one that was the first part of your life, Juan, the angry version of yourself? What was that guy like? And then how did you, was there a moment that you made a decision, or was it like, did you have some guide show up in your life that pointed something out? So take us to the point before and the point of reckoning.
Okay. I'll try to make this as quick as possible. I grew up very poor, and that poor is like a poor mentality. You know, my parents were very poor mentality. It's a different generation, and they had a different background, and I grew up very pissed off at the world, very aggressive, very because I didn't know any better, and nobody taught me any better. So it was kind of like the law of the streets. You make your moves and you come up any way you can, because the whole education system didn't make sense to me, because it just didn't. And nobody would actually take the time to show me with actually truly love and care how to learn something correctly. They wanted to just by the book and do it this way. And if you don't do this, you're stupid, you ain't shit. And I'm like, what the hell? So I was like, F you, everybody. And so that was my whole beginning life. And when you're doing things like that, you for your survival, you're gonna figure things out. You're gonna cut corners maybe and do all kinds of things. And then I got to a certain part of my life.
So you're in survival, you're going to cut corners and have easier triggers. Right.
Easier triggers, because that's the default mechanism. It's fear. It's your survival. All survival is based on fear. And fear is a good thing. Survival is a good thing because it keeps you on check. But when it's unconscious, it becomes destructive, especially as you get older, because as you get older, you grow more powerful. You have a lot more information. And so you have to transform it into a conscientious process so you can keep it in check. So it becomes a tool for you, because if not, then that tool possesses you and you identify with it, and it'll control your decisions on an unconsciously, unknowingly. You'll find yourself reacting to every negative situation. And so there was bits and pieces where I had a lot of different things happening in my life to open me up, become more conscientious, life and death situations. But there was one situation in which I went to school. I said, I got my GED. I want to go to school, and I want to get an education because I want to become a psychologist. I want to help people. And that was like the thing. And I also wanted to be an actor, and it was a weird thing. So I was like trying to do these two, but I had a professor. He was human. He was teaching us human behavior, and I was excelling. And he was doing great. He liked me. I liked him. He was an older guy too, and And we're having drinks one day. He invites me to have drinks with him one time when I'm hanging out, and he says, what do you want to do? Why are you doing this so much? I can see you love this. And I go, oh, because I want to help people, I want to heal people. And he says, I'm gonna let you know something, Juan. You're not, if you become a psychologist, you're not gonna help anybody. And I go, what? He goes, we're just as fucked up as everybody else. And I remember I asked him, well, why do you do it? He goes, because I'm making a living, and it gets me paid, and it's a lucrative position, to be honest with you. And I said, there's a lot to do with this. But so right then and there, it was like an awakening for me. It's like, that's when I actually quit school. That's when I dropped out, because I started to see the scheme behind it. They mean well. They had good intentions, and all of us have good intentions, but we all know that the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And I knew that what I was going through as well, to heal myself and heal others, wasn't going to be exogenically. And that's more or less when I started going, okay, I need to there's something I didn't know how, but there is something that can help me. I know it's not religion. I know it's not God per se, because I grew up Catholic as well, and because that never helped me. But then I started studying the spiritual sciences, the inner sciences of the East, and understand that as opposed to a religious point of view, but more of a scientific experiential point of view, where you question things and you experience things, and you don't talk about anything unless you had the experience of what it is you're talking about.
Yeah.
So make it less theoretical, more experiential, because then through the experience, I started my whole system, the way I felt, the way I would express myself, just became more luminous and effective. And I started like, wow. And it was a slow boat to China, but I felt the journey was enlightening. And I still feel it. I'm still in a journey, but I'm more clear about the direction and where I want to go and what I'm doing. But ultimately, even if I don't make it, it's okay, because I am happy as fuck right now. So it's okay. And don't get it wrong, I'm twisted. I'm not perfect. Shit happens to me. But now I have a more playful disposition to the hits of life, to the life or death, the detrimental aspects of the things that people are taking so serious. It's like, okay, well, what's the solution here? No, you don't want to talk. No. Hey, most of us are addicted to the pain and the suffering of life, because most of us are conditioned, and that's what we know. But when you start being more playful, it's scary for a lot of people.
Yes.
A lot of people are terrified of being happy, healthy, and strong, believe it or not, because that means they have to let go of their addiction to their pain, their suffering, their traumas. And you can't force this.
Who am I going to be without being who I am and having this as my anchor?
Yeah. You there's like a little like leap. You got to be really willing to take. Hopefully it won't come to a place which it's too late, when there's the point of no return, when you jump off and you can't.
I was talking to my, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was actually talking to my daughter. She called me in the middle of the night, 12:30 in the night. She's 14, about a week ago. And she was having a life crisis come apart. Like, what am I going to be? And I don't know that I'm good enough at anything. And the girl of my imagination, she's like, the girl of my imagination is not even close to the girl of reality. And she's witnessing, like, I don't know why I freeze up when I want to do things. And she had actually journaled it all out, and she was just crying in all this discomfort and so I asked permission to kind of walk with her as a coach more than, and so we did the check into her body and where does she feel it, etc. And in the end, one of the things that complimented or encouraged her about, and I want to encourage those that are listening, is if you do feel, and I said, Arya, since you feel uncomfortable, since this is bringing you sadness to be in this place, what the good news is that your soul is screaming to upgrade. What was once the cage of safety is now the container that keeps you from expanding. And so we literally ended up, I just, when I do the coaching, it's a little different, and this is intuitive, and we put her in her imagination in a bird cage. And she imagined trying to extend her arms all the way and being unable to do so in this cage. And so when we feel uncomfortable, Juan, it's as if we cannot fully expand, right? Where who you are that once kept you safe now keeps you confined. So as she felt the container and felt the struggle that she couldn't fully expand, we reached into her imaginary pocket and found the key. And then she had a choice, and this reminded me because you just said a leap, a choice to put it in the, to find the door, the little opening of this bird cage and put the key in. And she decided to do it. And then there's another decision. Okay, the door is open. Do you choose to leap out? And the good news is if you do choose to make that little leap, it's easy to course correct and go back to the old version of yourself. That's so familiar. So taking that leap with a coach or with yourself or with, these environments that you can put yourself in, it's always a choice to go back to the old version of you in that cage. And so she decided to take the leap first in her imagination and fly. And she was telling me all the things she was able to see and do as the human version of herself that's now fully expanded. And what was fascinating is later, she was with her dad, and 2 years later, I saw her. We met up at a family event, and she was this kid that could not order food at a restaurant. Like she would literally not eat because she would not order with not tell the server what she wanted. She would get that imploded on herself. Came up and she put this bag on the counter and she goes, guess what I just did? I was like, what, babe? She's like, see this bag? Yeah. I went up to the counter and bought this book inside this bag all by myself. I my whole green card, it's her debit card, and I made the purchase. And we went into another store and someone was being unkind to us. And I said, pardon me, but we're just looking around and shopping. She's like, used my voice twice. And in her little 14-year-old way, she's like, yeah, I'm pretty cool. I'm pretty good like that. And so the identification of that uncomfortable that you talked about, and then the willingness to have a guide, as you said, to walk you through expansion and change everything. We're getting into parts here, which is really fun.
And something about happiness, a key thing about happiness in my experience is your commitment. You got to be committed to being joyful, happy, healthy, and strong, because the default, which is engraved in our genetics, in our striving, it's taken millions of years to give us this cerebral capability to be who we are, and it's all based on survival. It's based on fear, and fear keeps us safe. But it, at a certain point in our development, especially from babies to adults, we need to let go of the childish codependency to being on power. And in order to do so, you have to make that commitment to being happy, healthy, joyful, and strong. Because then if you make that commitment, when the fear comes up, the emotions, the challenges of life come up, without the commitment, you'll default back into the fearful state. But if you have some,
it's like that life cycle of change that I like to talk about. Like first, the curiosity of what else could be available to me. Happiness can be available, is what you're saying. And then I can go through and then when I'm not quite sure how to do it, I just commit to, this is my default now. My default is I'm going to find a way to be joyful in this moment and in the next moment and in the next moment, because why? My needs for inner peace and joy outweighs my need to be right in the world or hang on to this belief to try to prove it to someone else, or right, and whatever it is that gives up that peace or that joy in the moment. Now, does somebody then give up the right to stand up for themselves if there is injustice? Because I find a lot of people get angry when there's injustice. Anger just shows, hey, there's injustice here. What are your thoughts on that?
No, not at all. When you committed to your happiness, you also want to emanate that. You can't be around misery and pain. So you're going to act more clearly out of your own expression of happiness. Because anything that sabotages that or blocks that, your spirit, your energy is going to deal with it. That's playfully. Now, let's say you're in a confrontation, like in the martial arts setting where we teach. I had a Russian uh, martial arts, Vladimir Vasilyev, out in Toronto in Canada. And one of the things that blew my mind was he says, when you punch, he's in his accent, he's all, don't punch with hate, punch with love. It's good. If he hit, you knock him down, he's good. He's okay. He's alive. He's good. Enjoy. And he really and he would wipe the floor down with these big guys. And this guy's an older individual, and he was amazing and so gentle but so brutal at the same time. And so it was a beautiful thing to watch how love and happiness actually can manifest in because it empowers you as an individual. But it's a funny thing too, because the paradigm is changing in the world, because now in order for us to move forward, we have to be empowered individuals. We cannot have things outside of ourselves be more powerful than we are, like our technologies, our governing systems, our schools. All these things have to be in service of the intelligence of the individual human being. And the only way that can come into place is if the individual's willing to make that commitment to being happy, healthy, and joyful, and then use these things for your betterment. And so it's empowering all the way around.
Yeah.
And
What
it's
is
not
justice in the world? Like you're seeing something and you feel like it's unjust and you can't just walk away from it. How do you find peace in that process? The same thing, like I can still do it with love. What comes to mind is when Martin Luther King was going after something that he could have been very angry about. This is injustice, how we're being treated, and the segregation, etc. And instead he said, I have a dream. And into the positive, beautiful, happy place as if it was already there. At a piece of what we're talking about also.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
And embodying that.
Embodying
that and being that happy. You know how another thing that kind of keeps us away from our happiness is our work. Because a lot of people, especially here in the West, most people hate their work. And so the only reason why they do what they do is because of the reward, the financial or societal status that they get, the benefits that they get from the work. And they're focusing too much on the societal status or the benefits of the rewards or the fruits of their labor, but they're not paying attention to the work, the quality of the work you're doing. And when you put in joy, when your expression of happiness it's in your work, the benefits, the rewards don't really matter. Yeah, they still come. We all need money to pay bills, but what's really transformative and empowering and valuable is the love and the happiness you put into the activity you're doing, because that will become valuable, and then people are going to pay you top dollar for it. Because the activity is more important. The expression of your happiness is more important.
Yes. I love that. I have someone that I'm sorry, you're going to say something else.
Yeah, because in the process of learning what to do, I don't know if I've heard of Alan Watts.
No.
So he's this philosopher from way back in the day. I believe he passed away in the 70s, late 70s. But he said something that was really caught my eye. He said, figure out a way on how to get paid for playing. And that because when you're playing, you're joyful, and your activities and expression of that joy, and it becomes valuable.
Yes.
Creative.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when you commit, as a recap, to finding joy in each moment, and you decide, I'm going to be happy now, not when I'm 50 pounds lighter, not when I make $50,000 more, not when I'm finding the person that I could spend the rest of my life with, but I'm going to be in the decision that I'm going to be happy now. I can punch somebody with love.
Yeah, if you need to. Yeah.
I can express a loving space that I am imagining I will be in things that I'm passionate about. I know when I do kickboxing, I'm so intentional about, I know that all the words become things in our life. You know, there's a beautiful study about water and water molecules. We're made 97% of water. And if water droplets can be changed in their consistency and with the way they look under a microscope, from bright crystals to dark, gloomy looking water, by words being in front of it alone, the words that we allow, the thoughts that we allow completely change the composition of the body and the mind that we live in, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So when I was doing kickboxing, instead of kicking, they would be like, kick someone's butt. I'd be like, I'm going to kick the butt of my last best self. That's whose butt I'm going to kick, because she no longer exists. And now I get to upgrade. So I'm upgrading her as I'm punching it out. And so what's also a beautiful thing is that we know that in this space, in this three-dimensional space, our bodies are meant to have contrast. And when we get contrast, we get to learn. Without contrast, we don't know what love and hate is. We don't know what light and dark is. We don't know what good and bad feels like. So feeling the blessing of just the contrast. Ooh, I get an opportunity to learn here. I get an opportunity to upgrade my soul. And I think ultimately that's what we're all here for, is to get to a better version of our own soul's alignment over any other material pursuit that distracts us. Who are we becoming in the process, so that when we take that final breath, our soul has been elevated to the next generation benefits? One comment on here I'll read. How would you approach teaching this concept to a child with extreme anxiety who often suffers from depression? I think this could be hugely beneficial to my children, as well as children at the high school where I work. We'll close on that question. It's a good, beautiful, heavy one.
Well, the most important thing is that you got to be a product of the product. You know, it's got to emanate from you. If you want to have an impact on the world, your children, your loved ones, your business, you can't take away anybody else's suffering either, because that's their path too. But if you are doing what's right for you, that message, that energy is going to transmit to others, and you'll be a possibility for people to transform as well. And so you got to understand your own energies in that respect, like, masculine and feminine energy, right? That's every human being, every man and woman has their individual unique masculine and feminine balance, because without your individual balance of masculine and feminine energy, you're going to be off balance. And it's not something you can articulate. This is an inarticulate transmission that we as humans have with one another. And one of the key pointers in knowing, like, how do you know when you're in your masculine or feminine side? Like, it doesn't express itself the same in men and women. For instance, when men are more in their masculine side, it's healthier for them because they're mentally, emotionally, and physically stronger, clearer, healthier. When they're more on their feminine side, they're more emotionally unbalanced. They're needy. They're aggressive, and a lot of people confuse that as being more toxic masculinity, but it's not. He's more on his feminine side. And having sensitivities is he has to understand how to bring those into balance, right? Both boys, as we're growing up as boys, and a lot of reason why a lot of boys don't even know how to handle themselves, and why there's so much suspense, because they didn't have a good example of a man being in his own, being a presence. With women, it's the same principles, but in the opposite direction, because the more feminine a woman is, the more feminine a woman is, she emanates that energy. She's more vulnerable, more open, more loving, and she's trusting herself to express herself and feel heard. She'll feel love when she feels heard. But when she's more on her masculine side, because predominantly a lot of women are working, when you're making money, when you work, that builds a lot of testosterone in both men and women, but it puts more women on their masculine side, and they find it very difficult to be back on their feminine side.
Yes, that's why I teach the practice of how to do it in our course, because we receive adrenal burnout, we're irritated, we're agitated, we're not enjoying the fruits of our labor when we're sitting in that in that
Yeah.
energy, and we don't know how
Yeah.
to get out of it. And society doesn't teach us how. So
Right.
being, we teach that.
Yeah. So you have to do this inner work to understand the mechanics of all those things uh, experientially. Find your balance.
Yes.
And then that way you
Cool.
can be an example of how that is possible for somebody else, your child, and or other women or men.
I love it. I love this so much. I have one little story I feel like is going to put an exclamation point for everything you're saying. And then I would love for you to share, Juan, how they can find you and follow you.
Mhm.
It's what Juan is talking about is I liken to this story. And so if you're finding yourself stuck, if you're finding yourself not knowing what to do next or how to express it and experience what he's sharing, experiment with it. We'll share with you how to reach out to him. And if you want more feminine expression techniques, you can reach out to me. So here's the story I'm thinking of. There was an actual scientific study with monkeys and bananas. It's called the Big Banana Story, Big Banana Experiment. And they put the monkeys are in cages, and the cages were just wide enough for the monkey to get their hand through. And they put these big fat bananas on the other side. The bars were not wide enough to pull the big fat banana through. So the monkeys are struggling to get these fat, juicy bananas through the bars, and they cannot manipulate them to get them through. And I don't know how it worked, but they couldn't peel them or whatever. These monkeys are yanking on the big fat banana. So after they've had time to obsess over this big, juicy, fat banana on the other side of the bar, the scientists put small bananas inside the cage, out of reach, where they'd have to drop the fat one to get to these little ones or these others on the other side. And do you know what happens? These monkeys starved to death because they were obsessed with the fat banana that they could not pull through the bar. So those of our children that are depressed and have extreme anxiety, you're focused on the fat banana. And it's a nice and easy thing to go, maybe something looks really shiny and tempting over here, or it looks like it could be a better life over here. And we can easily, once someone hears the story, you could go, looks like a fat banana to me. It reminds me, drop that story, because when you do, there's a ton of other things that get to open up for you. Just let go of the fat banana. That fat banana of depression, that fat banana of anxiety, that fat banana of anger. There's all this other stuff waiting.
Absolutely. In the human brain, you have the reptilian brain, which is fear survival. You have the monkey brain, which is, all the glitz and glamour, the bullshit, all the craziness, emotions, all that. And then you have the prefrontal cortex, or the human brain, which allows us to see these things more conscientiously and transform them. And when you commit to your happiness, right? Something that, if you do that, then you begin to see life as an expression of your happiness. Then rather than being in the pursuit of your happiness, then your paradigm will change and your life will transform without expectation, right? Without expectations, your activities will become a gift right now in the reality of life. And this is why they call it the present.
And it's a gift. Yes, it is.
It is.
Well, you're getting so many hearts right now, and thank yous. Incredibly powerful and informative. Blessing of the contrast, a thought shift, hearts everywhere. So where can people find you or follow you for more?
Just go to leomethod.com and check out whatever's on there, and reach out to me there, and we can go. I usually just do more one-on-one work with people, and we work on emotional deconditioning from particularly traumatic events or disempowering beliefs, and then how to optimize your human operating system at the same time to create that as you're letting go of the old, you're creating space for something new. When you want something new, what is it? Happiness. Because if you don't have that right commitment and the right tools to make that happen, we'll end up like what Abraham Lincoln said, if you do not know where you're going, you're going to end up someplace else.
Yes, yes,
You
yes,
know,
yes.
so it's we all need a little help. I have my coaches, my instructors and teachers, and I learned a lot from everybody. I learned a lot from working with Roya too, believe it or not. It was extraordinary. It was
We had
extraordinary.
such an amazing journey, and you guys,
Yeah,
Juan gave the 1,000% and then some, and you were just so committed to my journey. I've been
yeah,
doing deep work since 2015, and the work we did together was just so comparable and also different, and also like exactly what I needed that I didn't know I needed to the degree I needed it. That I spent $100,000 for in, my Tony Robbins days. And this is in reach for just about anybody that's watching right now. And so
and it's not $100,000.
no, 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 no. He's very reasonable and does really good, good work. So
Oh,
thank
thank
you
you.
again and good deep work. I have a testimonial that I made for Juan that he can share with you if you decide to reach out. We want to give you hope
Mhm.
of having happiness, because what are we here for but to enjoy
Yeah,
the journey, because we're going to be on the journey anyway. So if you're going to be on a journey anyway,
yeah,
why be upset along the way? Why be angry along the way? Why be
correct.
depressed along the way? Why
Mm.
not be happy now?
And let's connect with each other and be there for one another in that respect too. Yeah.
100%.
So thank you. Thank you,
Thank
Roy.
you. God bless.
Yes.
Talk to you soon.
Okay.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye. Mhm.